Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Kevin with Everglades Canine Academy. Today I'm going to be working with Leo, the beautiful sheepadoodle. Um, he's been here for a couple days now, and his owners actually brought me an e-collar, and we were kind of talking about whether we would e-collar train him or not. And after a couple days, I've decided that I want to kind of start using the equipment with him. I think it's really going to benefit his training. Um, and I kind of want to go over specific equipment that I like to use for e-collar training. Uh, I'm going to, we are going to get into, and I will do demonstrations with like how I'm using it and when I'm stimulating him and putting pressure on him and turning it off. And, but today I want to show you what the equipment looks like, and how to actually put it on the dog's neck, where to put it on. There's a lot that goes into e-collar equipment, and it's not like the most difficult, but you do want to make sure that you do it right. Now, let's talk a little bit about e-collar work. It's it's like controversial to a lot of people. Some, I've had even people on the street, when I'm working with a dog on an e-collar, and they're flabbergasted of like, how can you do that to your dog? And you'll hear a lot of people talk about, you're shocking your dog. You're shocking your dog. I really don't like using the word shock. It's a stimulation. It's a muscle stimulator. It's not like a taser or something. It's not like a cattle prod or anything like that. It's basically just like a muscle stimulator. The same thing that like physical trainers use to help athletes with their muscles. Um, so, the equipment itself can be used wrong. We can talk about that real quick. A lot of people in the industry, they'll call it hand of God training, which isn't really training. Um, Basically, what happens when you're talking about, when most people think about using it wrong, or when I've talked about people that aren't properly educated, and they're like, oh, I can't get my dog to behave. I think we're going to use an e-collar. And I think what I'm hearing is people are saying, like, I'm going to put this e-collar on my dog. And then when the dog is doing something that I don't like jumping on me or jumping on the counter or pulling on the leash, I'm gonna stimulate him real hard. Or people will say, I'm going to shock him, and, dogs learn by association, right? We know that dogs learn by association. And, that could be very detrimental to your training process if the dog is just doing some sort of nuisance behavior and then you're aggressively stimulating the dog. Now, maybe that will turn off the dog's behavior. And hey, stop that. He's he loves chewing so much that he's got his collar on. Maybe that will ref- make the dog refrain from doing that unwanted behavior. Let's say the dog is jumping on people, and let's say the dog is jumping on people, and then you take him out into public, and the dog's jumping on somebody, and you stimulate him real hard or you shock him real hard, right? And now the dog might start associating that it's people that's doing that to him. You don't know. So there is there is a lot of conditioning that comes with uh, using the e-collar properly. And this is why I always tell people, if you're not a dog trainer, if you don't have any dog experience, even if you do have some dog experience and you're thinking about using an e-collar, it can be a fantastic tool for recall and and putting pressure on the dog once you teach it, and off leash training. I absolutely love the tool, but if you don't know what you're doing, or you don't understand pressure work and getting the dog to succeed by escaping pressure properly, you should consult a professional before using any e-collar equipment. Okay. Um, But like I said, when it's used properly, it's a fantastic tool. Um, After working with Leo for a couple days, I think it's really going to benefit him if I get him conditioning on the eCollar correctly. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I mean, he's just kind of chilling right now, but the first thing that I want to do is I want to show you what product I'm using. Okay, so the only product that I will ever use if you want to train with me and in my program, um, the only product that I will use is the Mini Educator. This is the ET 300. All right. It has a half-mile radius. I'm not endorsed by this product at all. They didn't send me this, but I have used multiple eCollar products. And I'm telling you right now that, like, typically in every other day life, I will buy generic products, like when it comes to other things outside of dog training. But when it comes to e-collar training for like companion training, uh, I'm not talking about like bird hunting. There are specific bird hunting collars that I think do a really good job. But for just like home training, uh, products matter when it comes to e-collar technology. I have used like cheap $30 e-collars off Amazon, and they suck so bad. They're such crap. I had a client that he was like, I want to do e-collar training with my dog. And I told him, okay, I use this product. And he was very persistent on, well, I bought this $30 one off Amazon. That's the one I want to use. I don't want to get any other one. And we had multiple conversations back and forth. And he said, no, that's fine. We'll just use that one. And it was really frustrating because I kept trying to get through to him. And I said, there is a difference in technology. I don't like using the cheaper ones. I will only use this one. This one is $200. It is a lot of money, but it's so worth it. Long story short, I ended up just, taking the job and using the $30 Amazon e-collar. And it was the worst mistake of my life. And for my career, it was the worst mistake that I ever made. And using, because it was actually the first time I ever used that technology. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And those cheaper e-collars they just don't stim right. The levels aren't right. The stim is delayed. Everything about it was just very difficult to work. And, no wonder it was like 30 bucks. So if you are thinking about doing e-collar work, I mean, I do recommend it, but I recommend, it's an investment because you can seriously mess up your dog if you don't do it right. And that's just, that's just being very blunt about it. So, if you're already spending thousands of dollars on adopting a dog and whatnot, I mean, don't skimp out on proper equipment, right? So the Mini Educator is the collar that I use, and I'm sure other professionals will back me up on this. This is the one that's recommended. Let me go ahead and reveal the box for you. All right, so inside of the box, you have the handheld remote device. All right, this has a knob on it, and it has a stim button, and it has a stim boost. I rarely ever use the stim boost. I just use the stim button, and it has a knob range on it. Okay, we're gonna kind of get back to this. All right, now the other thing that's in the box is the collar, the wireless collar that goes on the dog. It goes around the dog's neck. Okay, you see it has the nodes. I'm gonna show you how to put this thing on properly because I've seen people do it wrong, and it's like real devastating when people do it wrong. All right. Basically, you want this to be very snug on the dog. You don't want it to be loose and hanging and dangling. Okay, this needs to be pretty tight around the dog's neck. I'm going to show you how to turn all this on. The other things that are in the box, you get like a little lanyard that attaches to your remote. I don't really use that because I don't like the idea of the remote just dangling around my neck. I like to have it in my hand ready to use. Even one of my old trainers said you need to earn the lanyard, meaning that like your dog needs to be well trained before you just let it dangle and be carefree about it. You have the double prong charger, so you can charge both the e-collar or the remote and the collar, and then they give you this little clicker. All right, so clickers are fun. I'm not going to use the clicker. You also get different sized nodes or prongs, and then you also have some other. It looks like attachments that you could put on. I don't really know what they are. I don't ever use them. Um, so these are like longer nodes. If you have like a dog that has really long fur, Leo honestly has pretty short fur around his neck, so I think I'll be able to get by with just the regular nodes or prongs. All right, so the Mini Educator is the only collar that I ever use now. I mean, since the beginning, I've only ever used that. Um, so here we go. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to turn it on. All right. So you'll see on the, I think my client charged this. She said she charged it. Um, okay, buddy, hold on. Okay, out. We need to learn dismissal with this dog a little bit. No. So the way we turn it on is you'll see that on the remote, there's like a little red, it's not even a button, it's like a red dot. And then on the eCollar, there's a red dot. Okay. And the way you turn it on is magnetic. You will touch these two together. Hey, stop chewing on that. Sorry, chewing on the leash. So the way you turn this on is you touch these two things together. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to touch them together. Sorry, Leo is all up in my business. Out. Out. Get out. There we go. You got to push them out of the way sometimes, you know? Don't be afraid to be a little physical with your dog. No. All right. I will tell you that he is pretty difficult to correct. He doesn't take the corrections too well. So what we're going to do is we're going to touch these two red dots together, and you'll see the green light turns on, and then that turns on the wireless remote. So let me turn it off. You'll see the red light, and then I'll touch it and turn it on. Boom, green light. Okay. And then the way to turn on the handheld remote, you'll see on the back, there's an on off switch right there. You just hold that down, and then it should turn on the remote. Okay. So the remote is on. Now, there's a couple reasons why I really love this remote. So this has a different range of stimulus, right? It goes from 0 to 100, 100 being the most impactful stimulus, right? The strongest stimulus you can have. And what I like about this knob, I like that it's a knob. I don't like buttons. I don't like buttons up and down. So this is a feature that I absolutely love from this technology. The knob, when you go all the way down to the 0, it stops. All right. It doesn't free spin. So when I'm working with a dog, I'm actually always starting on very low numbers. And as I train the dog, as they get used to the technology and they understand that it's coming from me and not their environment, then I will range up the pressure depending on how the dog is reacting in a situation. All right. And then it also stops all the way to 100, okay, which is the strongest stimulus. So the knob actually has it physically stops, so I can't turn it anymore when it's all the way down, and I can't turn it more when it's all the way up. Dude. No. There we go. He is chewing the hell out of my leash. And his owner said that to me, and this is something that we're going to work on. Excuse me a second. I'm dog training down here. Okay. So that is a feature. The fact that the knob stops is a great feature because I always go back down to 0 when I start training, and then I'll range up. All right. Now, I know that like some people are left-handed, but I will say that holding the remote with your right hand is ergonomically the best. Okay, because I have my index and my thumb on the level control, and then I have my middle finger on the stimulus button, and that's what I'm using. Okay, now this button on the side is a vibrate button. That's also something that I don't ever really use. I know a lot of people use vibrate, but honestly, I work with stim because I want to be able to range the pressure up and down depending on how distracted the dog is, um, or yeah, how distracted the dog is, right? And if I need to put more pressure on it, I want to be able to stim up. Now I have it on singular press mode. Okay, so one press delivers one stim. There is continuous, but I really don't use continuous too much. Okay, I'm just adjusting the settings. This actually is on continuous right now, and I don't want to use continuous. There we go. So I have it on single stem. I don't like continuous, mostly just because I like to know when I'm delivering the stem, right? I don't like to just hold it down and have it continue to stem. Okay, so that's just a little crash course on the remote. Fantastic remote. Great job, Mini Educator. You've developed an amazing product. Feels good in the hand. It's nice and small. I always know when I'm on 0, which is very important because I don't want to just accidentally stim my dog at a high level, because when you're working in the environment, after a while, when you're working with the dog, the you'll be flying through stimulus depending on what the environment calls for and how well your dog is trained, or how like your training process. Let's just sit. Okay, so now I know you can actually like lock the number, but I'm not going to lock the number. I know a lot of trainers do, like they work dogs on low levels, which is really good. You do want to start on a low level. I want to say on average, like most dogs are working from levels like 6, 7, or 8 out of 100, which is really, really low. Honestly, like when you stim yourself, you don't even feel it. I don't typically feel the stim on my hand until it's about like 20, and it feels just like a little tingle. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to put this collar on the dog. All right. And then we're going to go from there. Okay. So here we go. I got the collar. Now you have like the setting, like that's actually a light, which actually kind of comes in handy. You can turn a light on so you can like see your dog at night. I know down here in Florida we have cane toads, which are a huge issue. And I was with my personal dog one night, and I couldn't see. I was kind of letting him, honestly. This is after I've worked with him for a while, so I did have him off leash, and I turned the light on so I could see cane toads if he got in front of any, because it was giving him about like 2 or 3 feet of light, like headlights, which was pretty cool. But it does have a light so you can see your dog. You want this part, the light and the button, you want it facing forward on the dog. Okay, and you want the collar. You don't want the component right on the jugular. Okay, you don't want it on the throat. You want it on the side, up high, right underneath the jaw. You want it on the side, on the muscle, right? These are muscle stimulators. That's how we're going to be communicating with him. So you want it, I like it nice and tight, nice and high. I usually have like my leash connection below that. And I want this right on the muscle that's like right by the jugular, right by that. I don't know what that muscle's called. And then every couple hours, if I have it on my dog for an extended period of time, every couple hours I will switch it to the other side. Okay, that's like another thing, is that you don't want the collar on for too long on one side, just because the metal contacts can rub kind of raw. Okay, so the way we're going to put this on, let's see if I can get him. All he wants to do is chew. Sit. There we go. Good boy. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it on him. Now I will also say that he doesn't really like to sit too still. Should be the first thing that I'm training him to do, is sit still. But we're just gonna go ahead and slap this on him. Come here. So I want you to notice. I don't know if you can see here. I have it around his neck. It's nice and high, and I'm gonna pull until the fur comes through. Okay. Until the fur comes through. Boom, and then I'm gonna cinch it down. All right, good. Now it's on him. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna feel it. And he's been getting good. Sit. Sit. He's been getting good with his leash pressure. Sit. Here we go. He's getting a little better with his leash pressure, so that's good. Okay, so now I have it on, and you can trim this, you can trim the buckle up a little bit so it's not sticking out, but we're just gonna leave it like that at first. I actually might go one more in. Like I said, you want it nice and tight, and then what I do is I will kind of pull his scruff down because I like it nice and high on the neck. I don't know if you can see that. You want to show everybody, or are you gonna bite me? Here we go. I don't know if everybody can see that. Leo doesn't really like to sit too still. Hey, let's see if we can show everybody. You see where it is? Right there. Like right on the side of his neck. All right? Okay, so the very first thing that I'm going to do with him, I actually might switch out this leash. The very first thing that I'm going to do with him is I'm actually not going to stim him. Yes, he's also very hungry. This is how I'm going to pair the eCollar to me. Now, you want to use the eCollar with the leash no matter what. All right, you should use, the leash and the eCollar for a very, very long time. Okay, you gotta pair. He's got to know leash pressure before the stim pressure. Come here, old boy. There we go. All right. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to find his level. Okay, so I have the equipment on properly. All right, the equipment's on him. And the one thing that I need to do with him still is I need him to start sitting still while I put this equipment on him. All right, that takes a little conditioning and preparation in itself. I need to get him into a sit and reward him for being calm while I'm bending over and putting equipment on him and everything. But for training purposes, right, we're looking to get things going, and we'll kind of do that as we go. So I'm on 0 now. All right. Now, when you're doing this, you really have to be a keen observer of your dog. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do, he's never felt stim before. He doesn't know what it feels like. I'm going to start at 1, and I'm going to go to 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go all the way up until he gives me a reaction. Typically, usually what that is from about 90% of dogs that I work with is they look at the ground. They look around them at the ground. And once I see that, sometimes you get like a little ear twitch. They'll move their ear because they're starting to feel the stimulus. Now, once you get that, boom, yes, mark and reward. And then I'll continue that process, stim again once he feels it, yes, mark and reward, because I want him to know that when he feels that, that's me. All right. So I'm going to mark it once he feels it. So he comes back to me and receives food. He's pretty hungry right now. That also helps. And then the next thing after the next things that I want to see is when he feels it, he starts looking at me. Okay. And if he doesn't, I'm going to use the leash. All right. So if he doesn't know what it is, that's why I'm using the leash. So he feels it. He's looking all around. I'm going to pull the leash a little bit. And once he tracks on me, yes, mark and reward. Okay. So let's go ahead. I think he's in frame. Let me see here. Let's go ahead and let's start. Let's get him. He wants to chew on that. Let's get him on the cement. Here we go. Let's get this out of his mouth. Drop it. We're going to work on drop it as well. There we go. Good boy. Okay. So I'm going to give him a little bit of leash here. I'm going to start on 0. All right, I'm on 2. Let's see. Look, I want you, as you guys are watching the screen, I want you to look at him. Ranging up, stimming, 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 stimming. I don't see a reaction yet. Stimming, stimming. He's looking. Hold on. Yes, there we go. Okay, so I'm seeing him kind of twitch a little bit. Yes. There we go. Now he's taking food. Good job. All right, that was at 24. Okay. All right, let's start over. Let's go down a little bit. Stimming. I'm ranging up the buttons. Yes. There we go. You see him twitch a little bit? Good boy. There we go. That was on 7, okay? So it probably took him a second to realize what he's feeling. So we're going to go back down to 0. Okay. Let him relax a little bit. Stem. He's looking at me. Stem. Yes. There we go. Once he starts looking around, that's when I want to mark and reward. All right. That was on 6. Yes. There we go. Now he's looking at me when he's feeling it. So basically, I'm just pressing the button. Good boy. Little time go by. I'm not stimming him yet. I'm going to let you know. I'll say stim when I'm stimming him. Okay, stim, turning up, stim. Yes! Good boy. Do you see him twitch his head? This is why sometimes it can be difficult, because you really have to see his like micro movements. You have to see him moving his head, and I'm never letting go of this leash. I need him to know that this is me. Okay, here we go. Let's try again. That was on 10. Let's turn it back down and start over. Okay, stim, turning up, stim. Yes! There we go. Good boy. Good boy. That was on 10 again. All right, so back down to 0. Like I said, I love this knob. I go all the way down to 0, and then I stim and slowly move it up. All right, and then when you have it at home, you can kind of like move the knob and see how quickly the numbers move up. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's the best technology out there. One of the best. Okay, here we go. Let's go again. Okay, stim. Yes, good boy. I'm seeing him kind of twitch and move a little bit when he feels it, and that was at 9. So right now it seems like his levels are like 8, 9, and 10. All right, let's see if I can. It's hard for me to see my phone right now, but I don't know if you can. I think you can see him right there. So let's stim. Yes, good boy. So he is looking around. And so far from what I know from him is that he can take a lot of pressure. He blows a lot of pressure off, right? He kind of fights it a little bit. Good, and that was on 8. Okay, so yes. So I feel like my numbers are kind of like 7, 8, 9, and 10 with him to begin with, and that's where we'll start. All right, so it's going to be like a day or two of me just kind of doing this with him. Yes, there we go. I don't know if you saw him, but he looked to the right as I was stimming it, right? And that was on 6. Okay, so now he probably knows what he's supposed to be feeling. All right. Yes, good boy. There we go. Very good. So that is how I'm going to be doing. This is what I'm going to be doing for like the next couple days, and then eventually I'm going to introduce recall with the stim, and then we'll start building off other commands. Okay, so and I'll say that honestly at a lower level, just as like an entry level, having a companion dog, if you can just get your dog to recall 100% of the time on this, oh man, you're doing so good, because like what's the more important than recalling your dog and having your dog come back every time? And this will help. And that's basically like within the 2 weeks, that's usually my goal. I will also like add in, if I'm going to have it on him, I am going to do like pressure into sit, and we'll even see how well he does with his like down position. But, my main focus for 2 weeks, because it's not really that long of a time, is recall. If I can get him to look up and recall while he feels a stimulus, that's going to be a big help for his owners. I'm also going to try to incorporate this in his leash walking as well, because his leash walking is going to be something that we're going to be working on for the next 2 weeks. He is really just associated that he needs to pull everywhere. Even now, you can even see him. Let's go ahead and let's work this eCollar just a couple while we got it on him. Yes, there we go. Good. And it is extremely hot out here today. All right. So, with eCollar training, please consult your professional. And even then, like, I really only do this type of training upon client request. I've honestly gotten away with it because I've seen clients not keep up with it, not use it properly. They basically go into hand of God training where the dog does something and they're just stimming the hell out of their dog. And, maybe that'll work, but I don't really think so. I don't really qualify that as training, right? If you're using it as a correction-based tool, I think we can do better than that. We can definitely do better than that. We want to use this as a communication tool. All right. So, it's a little bit of a process, but all good things come to those who practice and wait for the good results. All right. We all want results. Yes, there we go. I'm stimming him and he's starting to look at me. Jackpot reward right there. Handful of kibble. There you go. This is how we communicate. Yes. Very good. All right. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and end the video there. I'm going to continue to work with him on and off the scenes so you guys can see how he's progressing, see what I'm doing. I am glad that I decided to start using this tool with him. I feel like I'm already getting some good results from him. I think it's going to work out really well because Leo here is a hard one to verbally correct, and he wants to chew on everything. And like I said, I'm not using this as a correction tool. Okay, just because he's hard to correct doesn't mean I'm using this as a correction tool. I need to bridge communication with him a little bit more clear, and this is a physical thing that will help you. Okay, that's going to help me train him. All right, so I'm going to give you guys updates as we go. You're probably going to see me using this. I'm going to continue to try to show you guys how I'm using this. Everything's always more complicated than I can post on YouTube because I got to work day in, day out with this equipment and stuff. So, I'm not going to be able to show you everything, but I will show you as much as I can because, at the end of the day, I just want you to have a good relationship with your dog. So, tune in for the next episode. And if you guys have any comments, just leave them below. I'll try to answer them. But if not, always remember, happy training, and we'll see you on the next one. Let's go, buddy.